Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist back again with another logic video concerning turn-based combat. And we have some quick things to go over before getting to the subject of the video, which is magic and magic usage. First thing I'd like to say is that I've cleaned up the logic for how you reset inputs to a drastic degree. I've hooked up a tag to the reset count, and I've tied all the power to an action recorder to make it easier and have less confusing wires everywhere, and hook up a switch to the power, of course. And I've taken a wireless receiver, which detects a output of reset list. It detects that title. And inside here I've put the wireless transmitter, which coincides with that one. And I've added a zone called reset count, which basically resets all of these counters to 0. And I had to separate and create an extra reset, which is for turn taking. And it's hooked up to cam attack, so whenever you begin a turn with the camera, it's going to count this turn as taken for whatever character you happen to be playing as. And other than that, pretty much everything is the same, but I just thought I'd mention that. It's a lot cleaner now, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, to go over to here, I've got some new variables I've added. For one, I've added a healing variable. Very similar to the damage variable that we showed earlier, hooked up to a wireless display, only this time there's no negative value possible, only positive values, because healing usually adds rather than subtracting. So, and there's a wireless transmitter called heal display. Make sure you get the wording right if you're doing this yourself. And we simply created a new block called heal and hooked up the receiver and renamed it to heal display. And yeah, that's pretty much all we did that's different. As far as that's concerned, I've also added to most characters. I didn't bother adding it to her, but I've added it to these other two. There is now a heal function, very similar to the hurt function we discussed in damage displays. And all it does is select this as the emitted target. And we use current health gained as the output, rather than, loss of health, of course. Duh. So that's one variable. Another one we've created is mana, which currently there is no player 2, player 3, player, no extra mana per person. I made a universal mana pool. I might make it a separate, separate variable sometime, although you gotta take these things into consideration. Such a thing would be persistent. And if you had 3 of them, that would count as a complete, variable. So just keep that in mind. If you have only one magic-using character, it probably would make this easier, which, by the way, I have made Valerie Hudson the magic user, because only girls and Gandalf use magic, of course. But, yes, for now she's the only one. We'll see if we can rig up other ones later. But we've hooked that variable up to some new stat displays for, the characters. Might as well get in a fight so that I can better look at these things. You'll notice that we now have magic points, or mana points, whatever you want to call them, displayed. Of course, these others are set to 0 and not connected to the variable, so they're pretty much, very low. I've also taken the liberty of lowering the character's health so that I can demonstrate the healing ability, which I made as a magic, you know, usage. But for now, the maximum mana you can have is 500. I don't really know. Depending on how your game is constructed, you might want to be more or less. Just depends. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at how she actually uses mana. Also, I took the liberty of copying attack. I've also copied all these with it. I just selected them all. You know, L1 and R2, pulled it over, renamed it, easy as pie, to, you know, pretty much reset all of this. Now you will need to make sure to plug X and circle into these ports. So that's the only major difference. Also for magic, I made it so that you don't need to have a target selected, so this thing has the power on now automatically, as opposed to how it used to be where you have to be targeting an enemy in order to use it. Also, I haven't really figured out a way yet to target, you know, use heal on a targeted enemy, because sometimes they have a mechanic, you know, where you would hurt zombified enemies or necrotic enemies with healing, but we'll figure that out later. For now, we're just healing the players. And it's a joint heal, it's not targeted. Like it heals everybody all at once. I might come up with a targeting system for the players so that you can apply effects to them directly instead of to all of them. Usually that's, you know, something that they have in these games, so... For now, though, you know, we'll also need that targeting system for the players for later if you ever want to... you know, give them items or something and use a certain item with a certain character. It's probably a good idea to do it that way. Unless you have individual item pouches for each character. Which seems like a load of work, but whatever. Yeah, anyway, pretty much the same in all regards. Oh, we've changed one other thing. The counter no longer hooks up to the... power of these little blue nodes that keep these chips active. Now we just have a switch in here that does that. So that's slightly different from before. Anyway, let's get down to business. She's the only one that can use it, and she's player 3, so we've got one node active. I technically gave her another magic ability called Cure, which presumably would cure status effects, but it hasn't been added in yet. It's just listed. Can't be used. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Also, the other players, I turned off the power to all these so that the other players' magical abilities are actually blank if you try to select them. You know. Maybe later we'll add some magic abilities for the others. But, yeah, let's just go ahead and look at what we're actually doing with the magic. This node leads straight down here, and all I did was copy the attack chip and rename it to magic and make it blue, of course. And I sort of redid the attack to have a magical effect. We've got an animation for healing. We've also changed the negative damage output to a positive one. It's 100%, which is a bit OP for a healing spell, but it's just for testing purposes. I've also added a variable that decreases the amount of mana you use by 15. Make sure it's set to add and not set. However, you will want it set to set if you're doing the heal display, which basically, you know, when you get healed, this will set how much the displayer shows, and currently we've got it set to 100, so it'll show the value of healed health. I've also added reset menu directly to this move for the time being. I might change this later, but basically all it does is activate the, you know, reset without using the cam attack, although we still have cam attack hooked up. Since we're not going to be targeting any of the enemies, it's just going to play a move without any camera work. I might add camera work for healing, because once I add how to target players. Currently, I'm just going to be targeting the void where there's nothing, you know, no enemy or player, just to demonstrate how it works. Alright, let's go to Valerie Hudson, target the void, and press X to display magic. If we press circle, it'll close, just demonstrating that it works. Sometimes things don't work as expected. And we of course relabeled the box to magic as opposed to attack, which it previously was. And we're going to press heal party. And they're healed to 100% health. Now, something that's a bit of a mishap is that it took a turn for Sean Spicer. And it should be Valerie Hudson, but we'll look into this. I think cam attack should come before reset menu. The position of these is very important. I highly advise you to put this at the very beginning of the cam attack. And I highly advise putting reset list at the very beginning of this, and reset count a little bit after that. The timing is very precise for a reason. Now let's go ahead and test it out and see if we fix the issue. Hopefully we have, because it might turn into a bit of a problem. Yeah, there we go. Her turn is taken, and she healed everyone up. I've got to say, the mana usage is negligible, so it's barely visible. It was only 15% of our total mana pool, which I think is a bit cheap for such a useful move. We probably would want it more like 100 to heal everyone. But this is for testing purposes, and everyone can still attack as normal with my new setup. The camera is a little wonky, but that's probably something to do with the inputs being changed. I can fix that though later. I just think that this new system that I've added really cleaned things up and made it look a little less hideous to the eyeballs and a little less confusing. All those wires kind of create mental blockage when you're working on games, and you know, it just makes things more perplexing when you want to add on new mechanics and such. So, hopefully you all find these changes, you know, useful or applicable to your own turn-based system. That's pretty much all for now. Oh, another thing, I did add this little tag called Turn Gone, which basically, you know, turns on the appropriate turn taken chip to make the player unable to use their turn. And of course, Turn Gone, I believe, is in here. Set to tag, also set to in scene.
Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. If you would like to support us financially, consider clicking the join button to become a member and unlock perks. You can also leave a super thanks in the comments, which we would appreciate, or a one-time donation on Ko-fi, link in the description. That's all for now. Goodbye.